So let's talk Xbox One Scorpio. So as we all know, there is a new Xbox coming out at the end of this year. And with the Xbox One already being out on the market, we all know the Xbox One is already underselling compared to the PS4 line. It's almost doubled in sales compared to the Xbox One. That's also thanks to Microsoft fault, because when the Xbox One was being announced and being talked about, Microsoft did not do a good job of convincing gamers to pick up the Xbox One. When the Xbox One was being announced and talked about, they mostly talked about multimedia and things like that, where it's your all-in-one box, and gamers did not want that shoved down their throat. All they really cared about was the games coming out and the gaming aspect of the console. They didn't need all this stuff shoved down their throat. And with piracy being a thing, or spying being a thing with the Kinect and the games, it had gamers worried as well. So overall, you can see where it got Microsoft today. They did not do a good job of just convincing gamers to pick up an Xbox One. Now with the Xbox One, a new Xbox coming down the line, I just really want to talk about it. I know it's really too early to really talk about it, because the new Xbox is not even out on the market yet. It's a lot of months in the future before this box comes out, but I really wanted to talk about it. Now, you shouldn't be surprised that the new Xbox is going to be the most powerfulest console on the market today. Microsoft has already said that, and recently, if you look on the internet, some people have already confirmed that yes, the new Xbox is going to be the most powerfulest console on the market. Is it going to be the most powerfulest way to play games? No, that is still always going to be to the PC race. The PC is always going to be the best way to play games no matter what. But that's really no surprise, and I just really want to talk about it. So, is the new Xbox coming out later this year, is it going to get Microsoft back on track in terms of sales, and is it going to put them above the competition? Let's just think about all this stuff. Right now, as it sets right now, with Microsoft being behind Sony in terms of sales, honestly, in my opinion, right now, just talking about it, like I said again, it is all a little bit really too early to tell if this could bring Microsoft back on track and be king. But honestly, in my opinion, I don't think the new Xbox is going to put Microsoft ahead of the rest of the gaming companies. And I'm going to go ahead and explain why I think the new Xbox is not going to put them ahead of the competition. But I could be wrong, of course, and when the new Xbox comes out, it could blow sales away and blow everyone's mind, and everyone could be buying that junk, and everyone could be talking differently. But in my opinion, I just don't think that's going to happen. First of all, like I've been saying in most of this video, Microsoft is already behind the competition. Besides Nintendo, let's take Nintendo out of the competition for just a second. Besides Nintendo, because Nintendo has always been in their own little boat, to where when you're talking about consoles, you're not really comparing Nintendo to the bigger companies like Microsoft and Sony when it comes to gaming. Although they are a gaming platform as well, so you do have to take that into consideration as well. But if you're just talking about the two big gaming giants that are doing the most and everyone talks about, they're definitely behind Sony. And with them being behind Sony already at this current moment, without even the new Xbox coming to the market, that is definitely a problem, because if they're already down in sales, they're going to need a lot of Xboxes sold. And the problem is, with the PS4 already outselling the Xbox One at this current moment, a lot of developers are still going to be pumping out games to the PS4 just because there is such a big fan base for the PS4 console, where a lot of developers are still going to be skeptical and just be really looking at the new Xbox and waiting and seeing until the sales, to see how the sales are going to do with the new Xbox. So there may always be more games on the PS4. Another thing to think about with the Xbox at this current stage does not have as good of a first-party lineup as Sony. Their games are just much more mature. The storylines are just better. We can all agree that Sony, no matter what you would like to say, Sony just has the better first-party titles. Yes, Microsoft still has those AAA first-party titles like Gears of War, Dead Rising, Halo, Forza Sports, things like that, but they're not in the same level as Sony's first-party exclusives. I can honestly say, me being a Xbox fanboy for quite some time now, since at least the 360, I'm not even ashamed to say that Sony does have better exclusives compared to Microsoft at this very moment. They definitely have better exclusives. So that is one reason that they may not really be pushing boxes, just because when it comes down to sales, all it really comes down to is that the fact that which box has the better games. And just looking at it right now with first party, third party games, the Sony platform, the PS4, has better games overall than Microsoft, and that's going to continue to be the case unless at this E3 Microsoft just really pulls something out of their ass that's going to be a really great big first-party exclusive game that's going to blow us all out of the water, which, in fact, I don't think that's going to be the case. When you take in consideration the PS4 has that one game. I'm trying to think of the name. I have a brain fart right now. The Last of Us 2 is coming out on the PS4 in the near future, and that game is just going to be hype, and it's really going to blow, like, a lot of people out the water, considering The Last of Us, the original one, blew people's minds, and it was just a phenomenal game. And I really don't know how Microsoft in 2007 is going to blow the competition away with a AAA first-party exclusive. You never really know if they have something lingering at E3 or something lingering that they're keeping a secret to us, and they're just going to blow our minds when the new Xbox comes out. But at this stage, since the Xbox One's been out on the market for some time now, I don't see how they're going to pull something out that's going to blow our minds. I would have thought by now, if they would have had that first-party AAA game that they've been working on for a while now, they would have already released it and blew our minds by now. Of course, there is that one game that was an exclusive game that was supposed to be coming out this year. I kind of forgot the name of the game because I wasn't really following the game. That game got canceled, so that may have been the one exclusive first-party game that was going to be a big hit for Microsoft, and they were just really banking on that one game. But now, since they don't have that one game to really bank on, I don't know what they're really banking on in terms of first-party games that are really going to be a big AAA title. Again, that game could actually come out when the new Xbox comes out. It could very well be that they're going to port it just to that, and it's going to be on that console and everyone's going to be playing it. But right now, it is officially dead and officially canceled for the system. Another thing to take in consideration with the new Xbox coming out this year, as it's been proven in the past, the best specs on a console, even if it is the most powerfulest machine out there, does not prove it's going to be the best-selling system. If you look at the era where the GameCube was the best-selling, not the best-selling, excuse me, I do apologize for that. It is not the best-selling, but it was the best graphically powered system for the time in that generation. It was more powerful than the PS2 and the Xbox, and you can see it was one of the most undersold gaming consoles of that generation. It did not blow anyone's minds in terms of like sales, and nobody really caught on to the GameCube. They weren't really sold with the GameCube. So just saying your box is the most powerfulest console on the market is not guaranteeing you anything. But it is nice that Microsoft right now realized that when they announced the Xbox One, they really made a mistake by going with all the media crap that they were talking about, and how they were talking about the Kinect and how the game sharing worked and you couldn't share games and things like that. They were locked to your console and things like that. So I am glad Microsoft is realizing the faults with the Xbox One and how they treated the Xbox One. I am glad they're just flat out not even dealing with anything and just coming out with the most powerfulest console on the market. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about Nintendo besides Sony. I know a lot of you guys don't really compare Nintendo to the competition, but if you look at it, Nintendo is still a gaming company, whether you like it or not, and they have to be compared to the competition because they are also a gaming company. They may not make the same type of games like the Sony and Microsoft, those big hardcore games that people like to play, but they still do make games. And if you take consideration what Nintendo is doing right now in 2017 with the Nintendo Switch, they are on track to making a very good console. If I was to say that that new Xbox Scorpio was coming out in the era of when the Nintendo Wii was coming out, then this would even still be a different situation. Yes, the PS4 is still outselling the Microsoft Xbox One even back then, but to take in consideration now that we have the Switch in the mix, it's really going to be hard to even say that Microsoft is going to come out and just be like on top of their game, just because Nintendo now is kind of back on track. Yes, it's still a little bit too early to say that the Switch is going to be a really big success and everything like that, but from all the information and from everything we know, and since the console is selling out like everywhere, and also in Japan, the Switch is doing very, very well in Japan as well. Microsoft is just going to have so much competition right now. Is this going to be the nail in the coffin for Microsoft when it comes to gaming? I'm not quite sure, and I honestly doubt this is going to be the nail in the coffin for Microsoft. I don't think this is exactly going to be the nail in the coffin. Another thing to consider about the whole situation is Nintendo has really made a new type of way to play. They didn't just come out with a standard console with a standard controller and you play on a standard TV. They're really breaking the way you play a traditional console game. Now you can play a traditional console game in many different ways. You can play on a TV, and you can also play it in handheld mode, and you can take your AAA big console experience on the go. And since they're doing something that no other company has done in the past, it's really getting attraction from even people who aren't Nintendo fans, just because it is honestly a great idea. If it was just another traditional console that you put under your TV and you play on your TV and you're locked to your TV, then Microsoft may not have too much to worry about, because honestly I don't think Nintendo would even be too much of a threat to Microsoft, just in terms of the fact that it is a traditional console. But since it is not a traditional console, since it is a hybrid console, they have more competition. Also, Nintendo is not known for making the best looking graphics ever since the Wii, and unfortunately, since the Switch is a hybrid console, it's selling out like hotcakes. So that is something Microsoft really has to think about. Like I said before, if it was in the Nintendo Wii U era, Microsoft wouldn't even have to think about Nintendo being a threat. But now they have another company in the mix being a threat for them. Now, also, one other thing that really will hinder the new Xbox coming out later this year, aka Project Scorpio, or whatever they name it. The one problem the system is going to have, at least for a while, is that Microsoft already confirmed, and they're not gonna come out at E3 and say and change it, because they really can't. That would be lying to consumers. But basically, they did announce that this is not a truly new gen for Microsoft. This is just gonna coexist alongside the original Xbox One. And since it's coexisting against the original Xbox One, they did say that there will not be any Xbox exclusives for the new Xbox, unfortunately. That may not seem like a big deal, but will developers really want to make or take advantage of all the processing power that the new Xbox has? Unfortunately, I don't think they will, because since they do have to make it compatible with the original Xbox One, I don't think they're going to make games that are going to take full advantage of the new Xbox. I could be wrong about that, but just from a developer standpoint, do you really want to work on a game that's going to take full advantage of all this processing power and then have to downscale it to work on the original Xbox or the Xbox One? I honestly don't think so, because that's time consuming and just a lot of money going to be spent just trying to downgrade your game to work on the Xbox One original. Honestly, if this new system was a new gen and the games could be exclusive for the new Xbox, then yes, it may beat the PS4. Would it beat the PS4 for a long time? No, and it may even never beat the PS4 in terms of sales, even if it was considered a new generation. But I guarantee you, down the line, if the new Xbox that comes out sells like hotcakes and it's doing very well, I guarantee you, even though Microsoft said they're not going to make games exclusive to the new Xbox, you know, down the road, Microsoft is going to lie to us and say, yes, go ahead, developers, go ahead and make your games exclusively for the new Xbox, and you can use all the power for it, and it'll just be an exclusive for the system, especially since how well it's selling. And I guarantee you also as well, some developer, if the system does so well, some developer out there is gonna tell Microsoft, oh, our new game won't work on the original Xbox. It has to be exclusive for the new Xbox, and Microsoft is going to take in consideration how well the system is selling, if it does end up selling well, and they're going to be like, okay, go ahead and make your game exclusive for the new Xbox, and you can take full advantage of the new hardware. But unfortunately, right now, just in my opinion, I don't think that a new Xbox is going to beat at least Sony anytime soon, unfortunately, in this current state they have. This video is just something to really think about. Like I said, again, it's really just too early to say that the new Xbox is going to tank or beat Sony or anything like that. They just have a lot on their plate. I just really wanted to talk about the new Xbox coming out later this year. Anyway, guys, peace out. I'll see you guys later in my next video. I'm out, guys.